Hello my friends, welcome to a brand new video. Today's video is obviously gonna be a little bit spicy. We're gonna talk about some authors, we're gonna talk about some books that I honestly would never read, never care to read, and yeah. I've never done like a hot take video on my channel before, so it's a little bit different for me, but I'm excited about it. So these are a list of books, a list of authors that I will never read. I believe this tag was originally created by Nicole in her books, so I will leave her original video and her channel down below for you guys to check out if you guys want to do this tag as well. Let's just go ahead and get right into it. First question is a popular book that you have no interest in reading, and I have quite a few of these. First of all, some of these answers may not come at all a shock to you guys because you already know that I don't read romance, don't really read contemporary, young adult, so some of these probably will not be surprises to you. I definitely have no interest in reading 50 Shades of Grey. I have no interest in reading the After series by Anna Todd. I have no interest at all in reading any type of toxic relationship, any type of romance. I'm sure they're addicting, but I just don't have an interest in those at all. I also could really care less about reading A Little Life. I've seen that going around and it just does not sound like a good time. I've seen people crying, people angry. I'm sure there's a purpose behind it and it's very impactful, but I just could do without that in my life. I really could care less. I'm sorry. It's too big of a book. It doesn't sound like my cup of tea. I also honestly do not care to read It by Stephen King, ever. I think I'll just stick to the movies because I don't want to read a 1,000-page book only to be disappointed in the ending. I love Stephen King, I really do, and I've only read one of his books and I can say that I actually enjoy his writing. I also remember The Goldfinch when that book was super popular because I think the movie was coming out, but that's one of those book to movie adaptations that I was well, I could read the book before the movie because the movie looks semi-interesting, but I didn't have enough motivation at all to want to even read the book. So that one is probably on my list as well. Sorry, I give you guys multiple books rather than just one. The next is a classic book or author that you have no interest in picking up, and I can definitely say Moby Dick is one of those. I just don't even know what the synopsis is for this, but it sounds extremely boring. Personally, I would much rather read a Jane Austen book. I also have no interest in reading, I think it's The Picture of Dorian Gray. For a while, a lot of people were reading this book, and to be honest, I still don't know why. There was just some hype surrounding this. Maybe there was a movie or something coming out. Those are two classics that I literally don't think I will ever miss. Number 3 is an author's books that you have no interest in reading. I definitely have a few on this list as well. The first one being Sally Rooney. For whatever reason, she's a super popular author. I think she's just a romance contemporary author, but I have no interest in reading her books, mainly because I did start watching the show Normal People, and within the first episode I was like, this is terrible. This is so toxic. What is happening? And I just don't think I can get with that type of mindset, that type of relationship. Fortunately, don't think I will be ever reading any of her books. Jodi Picoult, I think is how you pronounce her name. I see her around all of the time. I don't remember what kind of genre books she writes, so maybe I should look into that and I will be a little bit more interested, but as far as I know, she just writes contemporary literature or fiction, and nothing about her books have ever struck me interesting. None of the synopsis, I see it all the time on Bookstagram. There's just something about it that is not intriguing to me whatsoever. Fantasy and thrillers are my jam, and so when I see an author that just stays within one genre, I typically just avoid that author because I know they're in a genre that I already don't like. The same goes for John Green and Rainbow Rowell. Rainbow Rowell is one that I have considered picking up until I heard about that one series, I cannot remember what it's called, that's basically a fan fiction or knockoff of Harry Potter, and I was like, are you kidding me? Harry Potter is great for what it is, and you want to just go ahead and create this fan fiction of it. It doesn't make any sense to me. And she also writes a lot of young adult contemporary romance, which I don't have an interest in reading in either. So unfortunately, as much as I love her covers and sometimes want to pick a book up, I just don't know if I ever will. I think I actually own Landline or some other book by her, so maybe I'll give that one a chance. I just don't think she's gonna be for me. John Green is definitely another one of those books that I feel like I might enjoy. I did really like The Fault in Our Stars. I really enjoyed that movie a lot, but I know to read the book would just be asking for it. Like, I would just be sobbing the whole way through, and it's very rare that I'm in the mood to just have a book emotionally grab me like that. So I don't think I really want to venture out anymore to his other books. The next question is an author that you've already read a couple books from or of, and you decided that they're just not going to be for you. For obvious reasons, I have Colleen Hoover. I also have Christina Lauren. These two I just have no interest. I read, I think, In a Holidays by Christina Lauren. Did not like it at all. I also read It Ends With Us with Colleen Hoover, and I knew right away, like, that was not gonna be for me. I do have a slight interest in Verity because I heard there's kind of a thriller aspect to it, but I've also heard it's predictable. So I'm conflicted as to if I should eventually pick that one up, but between these two authors, like, I would never pick up anything other than possibly Verity. I've also tried getting on board with Alice Oseman. I know the Heartstopper graphic novels are pretty popular, but I just don't have an interest in that. I read Radio Silence and it was okay, but I couldn't even tell you the main character's first name. It just wasn't that impactful for me. Kirsten White is probably one of the very few fantasy authors that I don't think I would ever give another shot, because I did read one of her books when I started getting back into reading. I can't remember which one it was, so I will show it here, but I just didn't love her writing. I didn't love the pace of the book. The plot wasn't memorable. I didn't have a connection to the characters. Next question is a genre that you have no interest in reading or one that you've tried and couldn't get into, and obviously I've already mentioned this a couple times. Young adult contemporary romance is just something I cannot get on board with. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because I'm already married. I'm kind of like past that dating phase and I just don't have an interest in that anymore. I do like to give adult romance a chance here and there if I'm in the mood for something light. Usually I just don't venture out much at all into contemporary or romance when it comes to young adult. Next question is a book that you have bought and will never read. So the library can actually count for this one, and I'm sure there's so many library books that I've checked out, but two from my most recent book unhaul is This Is Where It Ends and Poison Study. I bought both of these a long time ago and just don't have an interest in either one of them anymore. You can also check out more of the books I have unhauled in my latest video, but I just don't really care for these anymore. This one has to do with a school shooting, I believe, so it's more thrilling adult contemporary. I'm sure it's very impactful, but I had an interest in it at one point but just don't anymore. And then Poison Study is actually a really old fantasy backlist that I've heard has been compared to Sarah J Maas, so I just don't have a reason to go back to this. It sounds really cool, but I also heard it's heavier on the romance, which is kind of a turn off for me when it comes to fantasy. The next question is a series you have no interest in, or maybe one that I've started and ended up DNFing. I definitely have multiple of these. The first one that I talked about recently is The Mortal Instruments. I tried getting into this, but I would prefer to jump to her later series because I know her plot and her characters and writing in general has just gotten so much better with those series. So this one I'm just gonna skip out on and go to the next best series that she's written. I also tried so hard to like Throne of Glass, and I just couldn't do it. Again, one of those cases where I skipped it, went to her newer books, and I didn't regret it, so I don't think I'll regret doing that with The Mortal Instruments. I also really tried to love Illuminae. I read the first book and was really disappointed by it. Loved the mixed media elements to it, but the story, the romance was so unnecessary. It just really fell flat for me, so I don't have an interest continuing on. And I've heard the second and third book is almost like a repeat of the first book. Definitely don't have an interest in doing that again. I've also attempted to read the Selection series, the Lunar Chronicles. Didn't care for either of those. The Selection series was just super duper unmemorable. It's supposed to be like The Bachelor, and I didn't see it at all. I just didn't like it. Heavy on the romance, so I thought I would pass that one up. The Lunar Chronicles was one that I feel like I kind of enjoyed the different sci-fi aspects. I know a lot of people really like this series, so hopefully I don't hurt anyone's feelings, but I think I read the first 2, maybe 3 books in that series. I just didn't really like her writing, to be quite honest. A Song of Ice and Fire is another big gigantic series that I just do not have any motivation to get into. I have watched a couple of Game of Thrones episodes. I even couldn't get into that, which is kind of unusual for me. I don't know what it was, but I just did not really care for it, and I really don't care to spend most of my reading time trying to get through another big series. And the last question is a new release that you have no interest in reading. I have seen Reminder of Him by Colleen Hoover for the past 3 weeks on my Bookstagram feed, and I am so tired of it. The one book that I read from her was so problematic. It could just be like a guilty pleasure read or author for a lot of people, and I'm just missing something here, but I really just do not care at all. Again, I'm happy for those that are excited about it, but I really wish that there was just some other book that I cared about that was super popular or exploding right now, but unfortunately it just had to be the romance. Alright friends, well there is your hot take for the day. I hope you enjoyed me kind of ranting and bashing some books and authors. Again, I really appreciate who they are as an author, as a writer, and no offense to any of you guys that have enjoyed these books or these series, they're just not for me. You know, life is too short to read books that you only feel mediocre about, and that's my mindset going into this new year. Thank you guys so much for watching this. Let me know if there's ever any other tags that you all want me to do. I've not done a lot of tags in the past, but they're actually really fun, so if there's a specific one that you guys want to see, let me know in the comments. But thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to watch. Thank you for supporting my channel. I love you all so incredibly much, and I will see you in my next video.